appreciate that. And these are exciting times for the startups, exciting times to, get our feet back under us with all the challenges. So I'm excited, and it's great looking at everybody. I feel like I'm watching the Brady Bunch or something, and it is awkward, but thank you for being here. I really appreciate all the help. We're going to jump right into the pitches. I want you to listen to them. Again, as I said at the end, I'll talk about how we kind of align advisors to startups, but we're going to give each company 4 minutes, and then if there's any Q&A, we can do a couple minutes there. So just send those to me or send them to everybody. And so what we're going to do is turn the screen over, I guess, to the startup right now. So Berman, I guess you can do, or I guess Eavor is going to start this off. So Ryan, if you would introduce yourself and, take over as far as the next pitch. So I'll start trying to time everybody. We got 11:13, and so we're 1:13, excuse me. So we're pretty close. We're actually doing well. So I'm going to turn this over to Eavor.
Well, thank you, Bob, and hello, everybody. I'm Ryan Michaluk. I'm the CFO of Eavor Technologies, and as I look at everybody else out there, I'm kind of jealous because this is actually what springtime is like in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. That's 2 minutes ago outside our window. In any event, Eavor is pronounced as ever, so this is 4 minutes that will not take forever. We will be quick. So Eavor really addresses the largest challenge we face as we move to a renewable energy future. Currently, the biggest sources of green power are intermittent sources like wind and solar, and they only work at times when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing. Eavor's product, Everloop, defines a new power category by delivering baseload, scalable, green power while having a very small surface footprint and a benign impact on the environment. So a little bit of a timeline for Eavor's development. We started in 2017.
Let me interrupt you for one quick second. Hey, Ryan, were we supposed to see some slides right now? I'm not seeing one on my screen.
Is anybody else seeing the slides? I've got it. It looks like it's sharing.
We're seeing your desktop.
You are? All I see is a mountain.
Yeah, just the desktop background, not the actual pitch.
Thank you.
You have dual screens, maybe?
I do.
Maybe turn your dual screen.
There it is.
Here we go. Here we go.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to start over.
Keep going, Ryan. You're doing great.
But we do a little play on the word Eavor. It's pronounced Eavor, even though it's spelled E-A-V-O-R. So as I discussed, Eavor really defines an entirely new power category. Historically, we've grown up with baseload power, and that means power is there when you want it. As we've moved to renewables, we've gone to intermittent power sources. That means power is there when it's convenient for those sources to create it. Eavor defines a new category where we have clean, renewable baseload power. And as you can see, I just was alluding to at the end, sort of our timeline here. We were founded in 2017. In 2018, we did a bunch of technology development. In 2019, we put that to work by doing a $10 million commercial pilot or near commercial scale pilot. And now we are working on commercialization. So we're looking for customers for our technology to deploy it. What is an Everloop? An Everloop consists, it looks like this outline on the slide. I'm hoping you're seeing my mouse move. What happens is we make a giant radiator in the earth. And we do this by using traditional oil and gas drilling technologies, but those have advanced significantly in the past several years. So cool fluid, this is a closed loop system where it's basically a closed pipe system. Fluid goes down as cold, it travels laterally, and during the residency time that it has in the earth, it picks up heat. And after it picks up that heat, it naturally flows to the surface where it can be extracted for things like industrial heat uses, district heating, or to create electricity using off-the-shelf heat-to-power technology. That's not our technology. It's well-developed technologies with multiple vendors. Then that fluid, once it's cooled again, the heat's been extracted, it comes down, it goes back into the giant radiator, and it comes back up to surface where we extract the heat again. Elements of our technology includes this multilateral rock pipe, which means that we do not have steel casing. that greatly improves the capital efficiency of doing an Everloop. So unlike wind and solar, an Everloop is dispatchable. That means we can produce the power or the heat when it is required by the customer. And this slide on the right, this graphic, shows a traditional baseload power being flat, which an Everloop can do. But then it shows, for example, solar, which is intermittent and is there during the day, and how the Everloop can be run so as to fill in the gap and create the load following profile that an energy grid needs to have to serve its customers. But all kinds of profiles are available for this.
1 minute.
So for us, our solution is still pretty expensive, and we're economic in high tariff zones. So Japan, Germany, places like that where they have high energy prices. We're working on a commercial project in Germany. As we progress with both repeatability and development of specialized drilling rigs and some technology that we are proving up this summer and testing, we'll be able to bring down the cost curve to ultimately become grid competitive within about 5 years. So in summary, sort of going off the questions that I was provided that we wanted to address here, what we solve is we create this new energy category. We're very complementary with the other renewables. We can be co-located with wind and solar, so we can actually utilize the infrastructure that was built for the peak supply of wind and solar, but fill in the gaps with us. I think we're particularly attractive on a resiliency front, and that would be places where you need to have power, and you need to be able to ensure that you have it. So things like power for a nuclear shutdown. If you're shutting down a plant, Fukushima unfortunately didn't have that. Our infrastructure can be used for military use. It can be actually hardened and entirely done subsurface. Places like data centers. So Heather for Microsoft for data centers, we provide both industrial cooling as well as electricity. And it may seem counterintuitive, but heat is actually cooling when you do it in industrial scale. So our challenges are funding our first commercial projects. That would be the project that we started in Germany. I've just listed a few other things here that I won't go through the whole list on. But what I'm looking for from Joules is I'm looking for help to develop projects. We will also be looking for equity investment directly into our first commercial project in Germany, which is an economic project and has potential to deploy about 2 billion euros over a 10-year period. And we're also going to be in our next round of Eavor Technologies looking for a bit of technology investment into our technology company as opposed to the infrastructure side.
Thank you, Ryan. A couple quick questions. Does this work in North Carolina?
That's a geology question. It may not, our current version of the technology may not work in North Carolina today. The technology that we're proving up this summer should work in Carolina.
And what is the delta T through the loop?
That's really an engineered design element. So when we build an Everloop, we design it for what the customer requires. In order for the thermal siphon to work, I think you need about a 40 degrees Celsius delta T. But part of our design process is if a customer needs a certain quantity of heat at a certain temperature, that defines how we construct the radiator, both in terms of depth and length to get the required output. So we don't build it and then see what we get. We build it designed to serve what you require as a customer.
Okay, last question real quick. Who's the best target customer? Any industry or is it utilities? Could you speak to that?
Well, we ultimately see this being a grid scale competitive energy source, and we really see it as being the only non-intermittent green grid scale energy source. So our customers are ultimately going to be the Duke Energies, the traditional infrastructure type power producers. But it can also be behind the fence. So it can also be things like data centers or industrial processes, breweries that require industrial heat. Because we come up as heat, and there aren't very many sources of renewable heat, there's a whole market on heat that's not addressed so much by a lot of the other renewables.
Okay. Thank you. And we're going to run out of time, but that was really a good discussion, Ryan. We appreciate your time and energy and hope to connect you with a number of advisors. Next, we're going to move this to Shay from EnKoat. So if you could get your presentation up and ready to go, we'll move to Phoenix, Arizona, I guess. So this is EnKoat and Shay Aurora.
Well, actually, I'll be presenting it.
Okay, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah, let me just share my screen. Okay, can everyone see it?
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. So, hey everyone, I'm Matt. I'm the co-founder and CEO of EnKoat, and I'm excited to share with you all our novel technology for improving energy efficiency with our active insulation technology. So I want to start by showing you two pictures of residential construction. In 1877, we constructed wood frame houses with standard insulation. Fast forward 150 years, the methods and materials used have not changed. We still use energy intensive materials in a 21st century home, which leads to very high energy consumption. And in 2018 alone, Americans spent over $372 billion to heat and cool their homes. This number is real and is going to double in the next 30 years with the current technology that we have. It's caught the attention of a number of states, which are now passing legislation that require each and every home to become a net zero energy home. So a net zero energy home uses 80% less energy than a traditional home and produces the remainder using renewable sources. So how can we get this 80% energy reduction in the most cost-effective way? Well, it begins with a simple solution developed by EnKoat. So at EnKoat, we've re-engineered paint, plaster, and stucco to provide insulative properties. Our patent-pending coatings are incorporated with microsphere technology. And let me tell you how they work. So the insulative properties within the coatings become active once the outdoor temperature rises above 78 or drops below 72, thus giving rise to the term active insulation. Now, to better understand it, the dashed line in the figure represents the temperature that you set your thermostat to. When the temperature goes above 75, your air conditioner would turn on. When it goes below, your heater would turn on. Both scenarios lead to an increase in electricity consumption, but with EnKoat's coatings, the temperature would stay at a constant 75 degrees for most part of the day. This would lead directly to a 20 to 30% reduction in the heating and cooling costs. Now, fiberglass insulation is what's typically found in homes. Through rigorous testing, we have found that a very thin layer of EnKoat plaster is equivalent to a very thick layer of fiberglass insulation. So the difference is our coatings don't just slow down heat the way fiberglass insulation does. They actually collect, store, and release that heat at a constant temperature to maintain the temperature within inside a family's home. So Shane and I, we both have our PhDs in structures and materials engineering, and we've been working together developing innovative materials for the last 15 years. So during this time, we both led multi-million-dollar projects from the fundamental research stage into fully deployable commercial products. And we know that we can't do this on our own. So we've surrounded ourselves with experienced and trusted industry professionals who have delivered products and services to millions of homeowners. And our great group of advisors have actually helped us build relationships with industry professionals who could assist in commercializing our technology. So over the last few months, we've connected with several of these stakeholders to discuss potential collaborations on upcoming projects. And this isn't just an idea. We've been developing this technology for the last 5 years, and we've moved from lab scale testing to field scale testing on the walls and roof of an actual building. So we're currently working directly with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory to validate our coatings performance and energy savings. And some of the challenges we're currently facing is finding the right partners to help us implement our technology and start gaining traction, and using these same partners to help us understand the current unit economics. And finally, implementing a pilot project at scale would show the proof of concept that would make our technology commercially viable. And some of the opportunities that we have are, we have over $600,000 pending in SBIR grants that are going to help us with continued product development on our coatings and to develop new products to reach a larger target market. So as we continue to file additional patents, we'll not only increase our IP portfolio, but we're building barriers around our technology. And this year, we're focused on engaging with more stakeholders and getting a robust pilot started. This will set the foundation for accelerated growth over the next 3 years. And we're super excited to be a part of the Joules Accelerator, and we're definitely looking forward to working with the network there in North Carolina. Thanks. If you guys have any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I did get a couple questions. One is payback period.
So yeah, right now we are still working that out, but a rough estimate, we have it between 5 to 10 years with our current MVP, but we hope with continued product development, we can bring that number down to less than 3.
When do you expect results from NREL?
So NREL, it's a 3-phase project with them, and the first phase is doing energy simulations and modeling our coatings on a standard single-family home in different climate zones. And right now, we're actually seeing in climate zone 3A and 3B up to 15 and 20% energy savings. And now it's just a matter of refining it and optimizing the coating to gain even higher energy savings.
Okay. Is this a phase change material or something else?
It is a phase change material, but we don't like using the word phase change material because people just, many people don't really understand what it is. But whenever you compare it to insulation and say that it activates, then it kind of clicks in their head like, oh, okay, I see it.
Okay. And is the temperature range configurable?
Yes, it is. So if you were to put it on the interior, it would be designed to whatever you would set your thermostat to, or whenever they design HVAC systems, they have the design points at 70 and 75. So that's where the coatings would be tailored on the interior. As far as the exterior, we're looking at optimizing them to fit the geographic location that you're in. So if you were to put the coatings on the exterior, it would be different here in Phoenix as opposed to there in North Carolina or somewhere in Florida. So that's also what we're working on.
Okay, last question. How different from a typical 3 or 4 coat stucco process is this, and what challenges to adoption?
So whenever we were going to make the coatings, we realized that we wanted it to be as seamless as possible, to where we give someone a contractor, a bucket of paint or a bag of cement, and they mix it with water or whatever techniques that they use. And so that's what we did in the lab. So as far as a 3-coat stucco, it goes on the exact same. It looks the same. It feels the same. So yeah, that's.
Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
And also keeping within the time. So really learn a few things every time I talk to you. Good Solar is next out of Charlotte, Ethan Blumenthal. So if Ethan can kind of take over the screen and take the next 4 minutes to pitch, and then with Q&A, I like the way everybody, I have got some directly to me, but most of them are to everyone. So just throw them out to the crowd and I'll read away as many as I can get to keep in that 6-minute time frame as best I can. So next is Good Solar.
Thank you, Bob. I hope everyone can see my screen.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, on my end, it was showing it. So let's.
Oh, we can see it.
Got it.
We
We got it now. Thanks.
Got
Thank
it?
you.
Okay. Perfect. So good. Well, thank you for having us. Thanks for joining today. Sorry we couldn't be doing this in person. Really excited to join the Joules Accelerator program. With that, let's just jump right in. A little bit about us. It's our intent to create renewable energy and energy efficient solutions for other nonprofits and low and moderate income communities. We're doing this by working with community partners to match funding with need. This mission kind of informs our charitable goals. You can see them in front of you. These are social justice, climate change, community economic development, and community resiliency. A little bit more about the organization itself. It's a 501c3 nonprofit founded in September 2018. It was founded after an analysis of recently passed North Carolina legislation that drastically altered the state's solar regulations. This analysis saw an opportunity to use these changes to accomplish the aforementioned charitable goals that we just went through. So here's our founding team. You see me on the left, and Miles Wobbleton on our right, our president and chief operating officer. You'll hear from him in just a second. A little bit more about the organization, some of the services that we're trying to specifically offer here. Within project finance and development, we want to do third-party leasing. This is where Good Solar would finance and develop the project itself that offsets a nonprofit facility's energy usage. The property owner would then pay Good Solar a rent for use of the solar facility. A community solar model we're also trying to develop. This is a larger facility where approximately 75% of the output would be contracted to larger energy users like hospitals, YMCAs, or municipal buildings, while 25% would be reserved for subsidized yearly subscriptions that are available to the community at large. We would reserve 10% for low and moderate income households specifically. We're also open to consulting on both these sorts of development models and energy efficiency generally for nonprofits and these sorts of communities. We're starting in North Carolina, looking at South Carolina as well, hoping to expand pretty quickly into the Southeast vertically integrated energy markets, hopefully the Midwest as well if things are successful. We are, as I mentioned, a 501c3. We also actually have an associated fund entity. I'll mention a little more on that in just a second. Just a quick note on some jurisdictional stuff. This is a map of all of the exclusive service territories in North Carolina. I just wanted to point out that in each of these areas, different development options may be available, and things may depend on which jurisdiction you're actually in. And this is just North Carolina, of course. Between the associated fund entity, that allows us the nonprofit finance methods of donations and grants, et cetera, all forms of fund finance, as well as traditional debt financing. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Miles to take us through a little bit more on Joules' side.
Thanks, Ethan, and hey, everyone. And excuse me, this is Miles Walberton, Good Solar's other co-founder. And as Ethan said, I want to touch on our participation in the Accelerator program. So from the first slide here, you can see what we kind of view as our three primary challenges as an organization. One is lack of a precedent business model. Second is regulatory complexity. And third is challenges with target populations. On this next slide, you'll see that what we view as our challenges is really the overcoming of which comprises not only our genesis as an organization, but our mission and vision, as Ethan touched on. So where there's a lack of a precedent business model, and by that we mean there's really no one in this space in the territory we're trying to serve, but that to us is a window for innovation. So we can amalgamate the proven ideas from others that are nibbling at the corners into our own business model and ensure our viability there. The second, as Ethan discussed, the regulatory complexity with the map that brilliantly shows that, all the different colors and all the different territories. What that means for us, though, really is one, it forces us to be diverse in our service models, so therefore we have diverse revenue streams, and we're not dependent on one for our success. And then secondly, it does serve as a defensive barrier against competitors. And then lastly, the challenges with target populations. Most for-profit entities in this space don't target, nonprofits and low and moderate income communities because of the challenges that they see in dealing with them. However, that means it's an untapped market. And if we're able to get there and overcome it, which we believe we can, then there's a lot of pent-up demand for us to corner. And this last slide is our goals, and it dovetails nicely with what I just discussed. One is to expand our network. As a service-oriented nonprofit venture, our network is everything. Two is to hone our business pitch and business plan. Third, develop our organizational strategy for development, which is mainly our best get-to-market strategy. And then fourth, relatedly, is to establish a firm plan for pilot projects, whether that's just a rooftop or it's community solar or both. And with that, I'll turn to our last slide, which is our contact. And for more information, and we love to, Ethan will take over any questions or answers you may have.
Thank you, gentlemen. Question, have you discussed your business model with HUD, HUD?
We have not, actually. We've had some conversations with some low-income housing people here in Charlotte, like the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Housing Partnership, but we have not gone through any of the government agencies themselves yet.
And who would be your first target customer?
So somewhat depends on the model, but particularly for the third-party leasing model, we're in conversations with, say, like the greater Charlotte YMCA is one of them, a number of churches we've talked to, some smaller universities like Livingstone College we've had good conversations with, hospitality houses, Humane Society. So I would say a property-owning nonprofit with a not massive energy load, but a significant energy load they'd want to offset.
Are you familiar with Poseidon?
Without reading it, I can't say for sure, but I Not sure. I don't think so.
Okay, we'll just give you that content.
Yeah,
POSIGEN, POSIGEN serves low-income customers, so maybe you see that note there. I just think that's something we can follow up on. And do you plan to bid against avoided cost in the CPRFE type format in North Carolina?
Sorry, could you say that? Say that again?
Do you plan to bid against avoided cost?
I don't think so. Obviously, we would be willing to participate at the utility commission level to try to make sure we're really looking at the net metering levels, and of course, we want the avoided cost rate as high as possible. That makes everything better on our end. So, and all the numbers crunch better. So we participate in trying to advocate for a higher avoided cost rate, but I don't think we're bidding specifically into a larger scale market. We're staying under the radar a little bit more, I think.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good discussion, and really hope you're successful.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to jump to Dynamhex with Sunny Sanwar. So, Sunny, if you can get your slides up. Whoa, okay. And
Sorry.
I'll pass it to you to take the next 4 minutes and 2 minutes of questions.
Sure. Let me pull it up.
There we go.
Oops, let me know when you can see it.
I'm seeing all pictures, but I don't see this presentation yet.
Just 1 second. How about now?
Yep.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Sunny Sanwar. I am the founder of Dynamhex Technologies. I also have Patrick Hosty here with me today. Both of us are very excited to be part of Joules. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is decarbonization as a service. Bob, you talked about net zero goals from city level, utility level, corporate level, even university level. What we do is basically create a service so everyone has access to the best practices, financing, technologies, business models needed to get everybody to net zero. I started this venture, a little bit of background, after I exited from my prior hardware company in Cleantech as a battery storage company. And I saw the need for a dedicated system that allowed people wanting to go net zero to meet all the solution providers who help them get there. So that was the start of Dynamhex. What we do is we visualize as a first step for each entity where their emissions are coming from. So what you're seeing here is all the emissions laden fuels and energy used by a specific entity. It could be the city of Charlotte, it could be the state of North Carolina, it could be a specific building. And we look at opportunities for energy efficiency, retrofits, retrocommissioning. We look at your ability to deploy more solar at the rooftop level or the utility side, basically anything that allows you to tangibly reduce your emissions at the asset level rolled up to the entity level. So, kind of a visual, picture says 1,000 words kind of a thing. Every entity, every company, every city can have a visual that shows where they are in terms of the net zero and where they ought to be. That was our first step, visual analytic. On top of that, what we've created is an ability for all these entities to internally decide which projects they should consider, both on the cost side, but also on the impact side in terms of carbon abated. You could do it by methane, CO2, whichever emissions that you'd want to reduce. And we've integrated more than 20 data sets so that we make the data crunching happen for you instead of you wrangling with 20 to 25 spreadsheets and other pieces of information. So you could tie it up to the Paris targets, you could tie it up to the Charlotte City Ordinance, Raleigh Resolution. You could do it at the building level, you could do it at the vehicle fleet level. Basically gives you the whole clarity that you need to know where you are now, today, where you want to be in the future in terms of your net zero plan, and solutions and technologies that help you get there. So you can imagine all of the startups that you'll hear from today playing a pretty big role in this section, because through their business models, technologies, projects, folks like Duke Energy and the cities and the universities and companies are going to be meeting their targets. And we show that for our partners. This is personalized completely for each organization, each industry, each sector, whether you have industrial facilities, whether you have commercial building space, whether you lease your fleet vehicles, we personalize your net zero targets for you. As part of Joules and as part of the program that we're doing, we would like to help all the cities with their climate action plans. As you can see here, 6 of the North Carolina cities, 4 or so of the universities in North Carolina that have their own climate action plan, and all the companies in the region that have their climate targets all come together and maintain, monitor the synergies that you could get from combining all of this. Instead of doing these spreadsheets of climate action disjointedly, we are integrating it into a North Carolina specific or a city specific climate action plan where each project could be suggested, could be tracked, integrated with incentives available at different levels, so that we're getting to net zero quicker and at significantly less upfront cost than it currently costs a lot of people who have the interest of going net zero, but just do not have the in-house capacity to figure all of these things out. And that's our plan with the product. We've sold already to a bunch of cities in the Midwest, working with a few big utilities, and we would like to personalize this approach for the Joules network and for the North Carolina region.
So if you were going to do a pilot for Raleigh, how would you go about it? What would it cost and what would the time be?
Yeah, so for Raleigh, we already have a lot of the data from both their, climate action plan, but we run our own models for each neighborhood block, zip code in the US. So we would have all the data available for their energy consumption in 2019. We would tie up the targets that they have planned in their climate action for 2025, 2030, 2050. And then we would, load up the shapefiles, which is the GIS coordinates for the entire city property. So every household, single family home, every commercial building will be available for viewers to view with the footprint on top of it. So if you go to this neighborhood block, you will see how much emissions are coming from that specific building and what are some cost-effective steps of reducing that, whether it is rooftop solar, whether it is retro-commissioning, whether it is just offsetting through buying RECs. So we would do that for the city of Raleigh and all the residents in Raleigh.
Okay.
It would take, for us, we've done things in 3 weeks, depending on how quickly we're able to get some of the pertinent data. But our business model is typically 5 cents per parcel, which I'll have to look at Raleigh's total parcel count. But again, for Joules, we're trying to do this in a more cohesive manner, so I'm sure there'll be discounts on that front. So we can talk more about that for sure.
Can you address changes in land use and transportation modes?
Yeah, so we do, that's a great question. So we do, on the transportation side, we're looking at 2019 patterns, and we could project out to how we think walkability and bicycle patterns would shift. We could also look at micro mobility shifts, last mile shifts. So we can make some broad assumptions at the census tract level. But as far as individual level tracking, we do not do that yet. So we can still get pretty close, but it would be a little bit more aggregate.
Are you getting household and business data from the city and supplementing it with third-party data?
Yeah, so it's usually the county folks that keep GIS records, parcel and tax lot data, and we have, climate zone level estimates on principal building use. So if you are, a retail building, year built is 1987, and this is a square footage, we can estimate the amount of BTUs of energy you use both in electricity and natural gas. And we use that at the granular level to populate and aggregate at the city level.
Thank you, Sonny, very much. Appreciate your presentation. Look forward to your success. Our fifth company is not going to be here, gridX, because Dominique has run into some trademark issues with another company here in the States. And gridX has had some success unifying decentralized assets for the grid in Germany, wants to do it in the States. But right now there's a trademark review going on. So hopefully he'll be here next week with us. This just happened yesterday. He was all prepared. His presentation was ready to go. So gridX, I'm thinking we'll get through this, but they've got a 48-hour pause as their lawyers get comfortable with next steps. So apologize for gridX, fine company. Look forward to having you meet them. Next we have, I wanted to get, so Cody, if you can get ready from Flux Hybrids. Cody's in Raleigh, and he's going to talk a little bit about his value proposition and what he would like to get done in North Carolina over the next 60 days. So Flux and Cody.
Yep. So if you can hear me, we also have August here. Who's going to start us off when this is ready to go.
All right.
All right, thank you guys, and thank you, Cody. So here at Flux Hybrids, we are offering aftermarket conversion kits that can convert almost any vehicle on the road today into a clean and efficient vehicle. You can go to the next slide, Cody. So currently there's 5 of us, and while this picture probably makes it seem like we're all the same people, we have different skills and experiences, and for sure different personalities. We all have engineering degrees, but before we met each other, we all wanted to go into different areas within the engineering industry. So that's R&D, technical marketing, or even technical sales. So that was pretty cool. You can go on, Cody. So here we are. That does show our personalities quite a bit, but we started this idea during our senior design class last spring, and we had to generate over a couple thousand ideas and narrow it down to one. To graduate the class, the idea had to pass 2 things. The first thing, it had to be patentable. So that was easy. We can get a patent attorney to do that. And the second thing was we had to show that the idea actually, there was a need for it. And so that was a little bit harder, but we did that with letters of intent, competitor research, and market research. You can go on, Cody. Next slide. So currently, we're targeting commercial fleet vehicles for multiple reasons, but the main one reason is that the fleet industry is facing pressure to move towards cleaner and more efficient transportation. But the only problem is there's very few realistic options. So you'll see, like right here, this is the typical fleet vehicles, and they do the job great, but the only problem is they're not fuel efficient and they're not environmental friendly. So if you wanted to go that route, Cody, you can go to the next slide. A fleet manager would pick this if they want to be efficient and environmental friendly. But the only problem is this doesn't do the job that fleet managers need to be done. And
So,
then Cody will go on and talk about where we're at with our kit and kind of what we've done with it.
Thanks, August. So even before we graduated, we were putting our grit, grind, and hustle to work, developing something that will give all vehicles a second chance at sustainability. Here you can see we had attained shop space to put in our test mule, but it didn't really fit, so we had to make it fit. Throughout the whole R&D process, which we're still involved in, we've relied on our experience in design and leadership gained through the NCSU, Baja, Formula, and Solar Car teams, as well as the vast experience of our advisors, PhD engineers, startup founders, and local business leaders galore. All of that has culminated in a kit composed of an electric motor, batteries, and a custom control system that can add usable torque, increase fuel efficiency, and reduce emissions, all while taking away nothing from the vehicle. With average driving, it'll pay itself off in 5 years of just gas savings, and that's not even counting the engine and brake maintenance savings. And with all that, it'll reduce tailpipe emissions up to 59%. It's a no-brainer. Because of that, we're in the middle of a pilot program with the NC State where we're testing a converted Ford Ranger that's going to be used in their facilities fleet. We're grateful to be part of Joules, and over the next 60 days, we want to try and kick our learning curve to the curb on scaling up by finding mentorship for things like cost-effective manufacturing and supply chain and getting a reliable logistics so we can get our parts to our customers. Now, August will lead us into the second point about sales and interaction and end it.
Yeah, thanks, Cody. And another second one is real quick. Like you said, we're doing a pilot program right now with NC State, and we're finishing that up, just doing our testing. But really, we need help transitioning with having the final kit done and how to get it in front of customers. So we're excited to be able to work with Joules and its partners to be able to do that. So if you guys have any questions, let us know.
Yeah, thank you. What about the, again, you said a 5-year payback period. You feel like since everybody's going EV, that you may miss, that the market might run past you?
That's a great question and a great insight into how we're looking into it. So a 5-year payback may be kind of long for, it doesn't seem like a lot of people keep their cars that long, but a lot of people do, but that also doesn't account for all the vehicles that are already there. They're not going away anytime soon. So all that is open for us to convert. And on top of that, our kit will actually outlast most of those vehicles. So you can actually just put it onto the next one. In case your vehicle breaks, your kit will still be there. Since it's a universal fitment, there's a minimum cost for doing that. But yeah, electric vehicles are hopefully taking over the market soon.
Is it a level 1 or 2 charger?
It can be either, whatever the fleet is willing to set up and what works with best.
And your primary competitor is?
There's really only one competitor in this type of space, and they're called XL Hybrids. They have a truck at UNCC, and they mostly work on the West Coast though. They're from Boston, but we've been looking into them a lot to see what we can do, and our tech is far and away better, but they're already a little established.
Here's a fun question. Any specific hot rodder kits targeting old muscle cars?
That's in the works. That's been in the pipeline since we had this idea. We thought about what a great idea it'd be to get a Corvette and electrify the front axle to make it a 4-wheel drive. So soon.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Cody. Thank you, Flux. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you all. Next is Blue Box, Jeremy Akers. Blue Box out of Dallas. Well, actually, I think Jeremy's in where is he? France, Netherlands. I forgot where you are, Jeremy. Blue Box.
All right, unmuted here. Give me 1 second to pull up this slide. Okay, thanks everybody. Yes, as Bob said, my name is Jeremy Akers. I am the Director of Business Development for Blue Box Air. Actually, first want to say thank you to Bob and Ryan for pulling me into this. Obviously, a thank you to EY and Microsoft and all of the partners. And then beyond that, I'm humbled to be a part of this group with Joules and every other company that's presented so far, because we are a decidedly low-tech innovation, and listening to everybody else, it's a little intimidating, but I'll run through what we do, because we impact an area in the built environment that really hasn't been innovated in a very long time. So just to set the stage for you guys, in every building, it used to be that you had about 50% of the energy in a building was used by the HVAC system, and 50% would go to LED lighting. With everybody implementing LED lighting, you now have about 75% of the built environment energy use being used via HVAC to condition the air that we're all used to for what is basically the built environment for all of us. The problem is that inside of these systems, the way they work, air flows through coils, and as the air flows through those coils, that's what conditions it and becomes hot or cold. Except the coils are dense, they're deep, they're easily fouled, and they get filled up with dirt and grime, and in a lot of cases they get filled up with bacteria, biofilm, and viruses. Everything else kind of gets in there, and that can propagate through the airstream. But the methods of cleaning to this point have always been very inefficient. High pressure washing, steam cleaning, chemical cleaning that can damage and shorten the life of equipment. But basically, we looked at this, and Blue Box is a whole new model for dealing with that area. Just to set the stage a little bit for you, this is a cross section of a coil, so you can see what I would be looking at here. And on the big picture on the left, air would flow through this from either the left or right. But what you see in the middle is a lot of dirt and grime, and that is from when somebody pressure washes a system or uses steam cleaning, they're pushing that dirt and grime and bacteria biofilm into the center of the equipment. And what happens is as it gets clogged up, everybody is used to the fact that after a certain period of time, this equipment has to be replaced. And while it's clogged up, the motor that is pulling the air through this and pushing it into the building has to work harder in order to move the required volume of air into the building. You can clean it, it looks nice on the outside, but it still gets plugged up in the middle, and it causes the entire system to run inefficient and very unhealthily. So what does Blue Box do? We've developed equipment and system, and this is actually one of our very first pictures. This is our CEO here, who is treating one of our very first projects, I believe with the MGM Hotels and Resorts. We're fortunate to be a nationwide service capability, and we do work with some high-profile clients already, but this is our CEO on one of the first projects. And what he's doing is he's injecting a pH-neutral bioenzyme that we've developed for this process. The application process is low pressure, which means that in comparison to pressure washing and the like, this right here is actually not going to damage the metal. It's not going to damage the fins. And there's no hazardous chemicals in our process. Very important, because with no odor in this, it means that we perform this work when the equipment is on. There's no downtime, there's no shutdown for this equipment, and we're able to come in on a Monday morning and do this. What you're seeing here is the backside of the coil. This is effective because if we're injecting our enzymes in one area of the coil, they travel through, they push out the dirt and grime, and they're safe for down drain disposal. Part of our method is that our technicians will apply the enzymes in a very thick foam phase and look for blockage areas. In this highlight, I'm not sure if the screen blocks it or not, but you can see a circle and a rectangle on the side, but these are areas where there's a blockage inside of the system. We're able to punch through those blockage areas and basically restore the airflow, bringing efficiency back to the equipment. Here's another image of it just to show what this looks like. But basically, as you're going, we map out the coils, we can see where the airflow is restricted, and we use various techniques to use the enzymes to punch through and basically eat up any of the bacteria and biofilm that's inside of these systems. Another one right here, this is biofilm. This is what, it's basically organic material that can jump into the coils, and in this environment, it'll propagate and grow, and our method is able to eat up the biofilm, push it out, and it's then safe for down drain disposal. We do a lot of work with hospitals where we're able to, our enzymes encapsulate this bacteria and biofilm and take it down the drain, so it's not released into the airstream. We have tests that we've done with our hospital partners to show that. Again, this is kind of showing what this looks like oozing out of an air system. It's not something everybody wants to think about because it's the air we breathe and it's what's out there, but this is what we're here to solve. Part of our service, though, is that we do measure the energy efficiency. We're able to take air pressure readings on the front side of the coils and on the back side of the coils. It's a snapshot of our service, but this is something that you would see on the side of this equipment, measuring the amperage being drawn by the equipment. In a 2.5 hour period of servicing this particular air handler, we were able to drop it by 10 amps. We don't calculate that, and we don't use this in our calculations, but a lot of our clients like to see this information. We'll measure pressure differentials, and we'll use this to take efficiency across that system. We serve all of these environments, and as we said at the beginning, I actually should have had one on here for data centers as well. We do work with some data center clients, and every one of these industries has unique needs. But the biggest thing is that we can service with no downtime. We introduce operational efficiency and improve indoor air quality for the building. I'll mention briefly here that our service, because we can get complete coil coverage, we've adapted our process recently to, I know I got to tie this up, but we've adapted our process recently to with our enzymes, we have a secondary process where we're adding in a chlorine dioxide with our enzymes and applying that after we do the deep clean. That chlorine dioxide is a disinfectant. It's known, it's on the EPA approved website. And when we apply that through the coils, we get complete coverage and complete disinfection of those coils. It's really one of the areas in a building that no other method is going to be able to disinfect. So we've been introducing this obviously over the last few years, or excuse me, last few weeks. And we've seen a lot of uptick on this, obviously with a lot of clients looking for reoccupancy plans and letting their people know that they've done everything they can to disinfect the environment here. That's it for the Innovating Air. I don't know if I have time, but I'm happy to show a quick video of the service in action, or we can jump into the questions.
Let me just jump into the questions, I think.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, it's fine. I think we'll have time to show the video later, but a couple quick questions, and maybe you say, beyond pressure delta, have you quantified energy savings?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Yeah, so we use a formula. It is a snapshot, and this is actually, sorry, I didn't even jump into this part. For this slide, would have been part of my discussion to say what we're looking for from the Joules Accelerator is that we have quantified. We measure pre and post service, and we use a formula that looks at the reduction in load on the blower motor from that reduction in the delta pressure before and after our service. With this accelerator, what we'd like to do is obviously work with clients that have the data tracking capability to look at the real reduction in load on the motor itself and be able to take those two readings together. We can do readings before, we can do after, but we really haven't even tracked our impact on the chiller side of the equation. So there's a lot of data that we'd like to see. Our clients are all repeat clients. Once they start, this is what they're doing to keep their systems, running at peak efficiency. But we'd love to work with clients that, can help us continue to data track.
Do you vacuum the dirt, biofilm, and are there disposal issues?
There are no disposal issues. Our enzymes are safe for down drain disposal. With some of those pictures that you see with the really heavy biofilm or biofouling, we will vacuum that up. But as far as our cleaning process goes, everything is safe for down drain disposal. We're all zeros on a safety data sheet, and there are no issues that way.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Last but not least, we got IND Technologies from Melbourne, Australia. Andrew, if you can kind of queue up your deck, you'll kind of take us home, and then we'll have a quick wrap up, and we'll be out of here by 2:15. So, IND. We see it. We just need you to unmute, maybe. Yeah, we still can't hear you.
I'm okay now, Bob. I've just been
there you go.
I'm just coming in on the phone.
Okay, gotcha.
Hey,
all right.
Thanks for the time, everyone. And yeah, I appreciate being last because it's given me a little bit extra time to wake up here in Melbourne. So thank you for that. That's been great presentations, everybody. Hey, just a little bit about our team. So we're experienced in the energy, digital, and innovation space, and very much thankful for being in the Joules Accelerator. And unfortunately for you guys, you've only got me today. Tony and Alan generally do a much better job than I do. So just what problem are we going after? It's really around electrical faults on energy networks. And what do we know? Well, they're hard to find before they occur. They're hard to predict and regularly have serious consequences, whether it be reliability impacts all the way through to wildfire starts. So finding developing faults accurately before they happen is very valuable. So electrical asset owners today, how do they go about it? Well, there's some new technology in the space, and a lot of that technology is very good, but they do it by the ways of routine basis, and whether that's a annual inspection or a 3-yearly inspection to determine the condition of the assets, that's how they go about it. Alternatively to that, they then wait and respond accordingly. So whether it's a smart smart meter alert or a call from a public to say, hey, something's gone wrong. And then they get out the back and count the cost of that. So whether it's tallying up the reliability bill or dealing with the insurer premium, or as we've seen in Australia and California, dealing with the fallout of litigation. So introducing our system, which is the early fault detection system. It's 3 parts. It's hardware, software as a service, and smart diagnosis. So the EFD system provides real-time continuous monitoring of electrical assets. So it's every second of every day. It uses IoT architecture with edge computing, smart sensors, and we locate and classify faults down to 10 meters or 30 feet. And we generate our revenue via hardware sales upfront and then software services recurring. The data is available for users at any time. There's no black box, and users can access the data anywhere in any location. Just a little bit about our background. Probably a few categories here. Innovation's been recognised, and that's been recognised in a few fields, energy and defence. We've done our homework and all of our learning really at home in Australia. We entered in the US market in July 2019, and we've had some success and been referred through to other customers off the back of that. So we're still a young company, but we now have 2,200 miles of network coverage in the pipe. In the bag, basically, as we speak. So examples of what our partners are finding. What does an early fault look like? This was actually the first fault that Alan detected with the equipment, which he invented. So this is a insulator that's had tracking across the insulators, and you can see in the middle of the pole there, the pole has been burnt out. So that was detected 33 days in advance. The utility let the system run to see if our system was producing false positives, and a primary outage occurred at that location. This one's closer to home in North America, and our system from Australia, we detected an issue down to this 30 feet section of power line, and this is what the customer saw when they headed out. So that's 3.5 weeks in after the fault was detected. You can see that the conductor is unwrapping slowly, and that would lead to a reliability and potential wildfire start at that location. Closer to home, back in Melbourne, this is another example. This is hidden. This is where a transformer's been hit by lightning, and it's not showing any visible signs that our system has detected it, and the guys have been able to remotely disconnect that transformer before any adverse issues. Another one, this is a secondary service cable. We see these travel up into the primary conductor, and you can see a close-up of the cable that it's very much heading to end of life. Vegetation, big consideration for utilities. They spend a lot of money every year clearing vegetation, and it's always about numbers, how many trees they've cut. But the real question, I suppose, for the directors of any of those businesses is, are my lines free from compliance today? Is any trees touching the line? So this was one we saw in North America when we turned the system on. Conductor slap, another issue, involves 2 of the primary conductors hitting, and you can see the issue that's detected there. Another one, crossarm at end of life, just conscious of time. You can see the insulators drop down on the crossarm there, and we've been able to detect and locate that before adverse outcomes. And finally, just the fuse maloperation. So similar to what's in your house, these are designed to sectionalize lines. Sometimes things go wrong. So what our partners are finding? Well, they're finding common threats that pose public safety and reliability risks. They're detected and diagnosed remotely. We're able to locate accurately down to 30 feet. In all cases, we're able to find before the risk was realised, and timely discovery is a relief to the network owner. Finally, what would a rapid pilot or a 60-day, what can we do in North Carolina, and what we're excited about doing? 15 units here on a pallet. We'd love to send them over to North Carolina and customers that get the best results pick troublesome parts of the network to test our system on and get the maximum learnings. And importantly, every customer that we've tried with, we've gone on and secured recurring business. Sorry, Bob, a lot to take in, but I don't know if I've run over time. So thanks for your time, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Lots of questions coming in, pretty technical in some cases. Can you detect if a section of wire is undersized compared to an upstream and downstream wire size?
No, it doesn't. We work in the realm of radio frequency, so it doesn't detect changes in size on the conductor. But for example, we will see failing clamps, arcing clamps, conductor changes in size. You're heading well into sort of really asset condition space.
Can the technology detect electrical distribution issues within a building?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Oh, well, look, in terms of some of our incidents we've found on the networks, they haven't actually been on the networks, they've been in the customer's premises. So we're able to determine which side of the transformer it's coming through. And in some cases, it's in the customer's residence.
Okay. Are there examples of leveraging drone photography along with your predictive analytics?
Oh, look, I think that's the future for the business, Bob. It will be alerts. Yeah, alerts come through on the system. We triage those off our system, but then basically deploying a drone to fly above the power line, do a first base check before deploying the crews with the right tools to fix the problem.
Okay. Last question, do you utilize oscillography from your sensors for use cases like incipient fault?
Oh, yeah, not sure I follow that question.
Yeah, I guess I need to talk to Kevin. Sent that one. Let me ask, and on this one then, how many EFS sensors would be needed on a distribution circuit?
Oh, look, distribution circuits vary in size. So that the sensors are located 5 kilometers apart on our distribution network and 7 kilometers apart on a transmission network.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let me just, we kind of have gone through a full day of everybody. I wanted to make sure everyone knows what the next step is. So next Wednesday, we're going to get, we have a town hall meeting where we hopefully have a couple hundred people hear these pitches and become potential advisors, but more importantly, just can provide their network to make connections for the startups. So after today, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, you'll get in the mail a list of startup and advisors. And what we want you to do is sort of work, and Ryan and I will work together with you to get those first meetings set up where you can help advise them on next steps, challenge their business plan, provide connections, and most importantly, provide some market traction in North Carolina. So with that, I don't think we have any other questions. I want to thank everybody for their time and energy during tough times, getting together, putting these pitches together virtually was exciting for us. I thought you all did a great job. I really appreciate working with this fine network, and hopefully we found the right helpers, and more to come tomorrow. So we make the connections and then we kind of kick off on what we can do so that in 60 days when the companies do come back, they can describe a successful journey in a pilot or a demonstration project or a new customer. So with that, I'll pause for 1 second to make sure there's no question, any significant questions. All right, not hearing any. Have a good day. Have a beautiful day, to quote you too. And thank you all very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bob. Nice job.